Thank you, and it's wonderful. I can say it's wonderful to be back in Dublin and actually seen some old friends here. So a preliminary, I must tell you that my remarks are my own and they're not those of the Commission or any of my fellow commissioners. Dan was fond of saying a little more than that. He said, but I sure wish they were. I don't want to steal his line, but I'll give you credit. One more preliminary before we get to the interview, and it goes to something that we're working on at the Commission. One of our tasks is to provide fairly rigorous guidance to public companies as to what they need to disclose, or at least the areas they need to think about when they're crafting their disclosure to investors. For some time, that guidance has been fairly static. If you look at that guidance, it focuses on an economy of, I would say, the mid-60s to late 70s. Particular items that you're suggested to think about include plant, property, and equipment. What kind of factories do you have? How much money do you have invested in real estate and the like? What's not there, and the reason I bring this up in this audience will become apparent in a moment. What's not there is guidance on how to disclose your human assets, your human capital, how businesses think about the people they have. That's a mistake. And it's a mistake because if you look at balance sheets today have roughly a third of the assets you can easily tie to human capital, as compared to less than 10% 20 years ago. So we've proposed modernizing, and we're looking for comments on how to best disclose human capital. And I'll make two comments on that. The best companies that I've seen in the private practice are the ones that track their human capital very well. When you go into the boardroom or into the management suite and you think about what drives the value of this company, it can be intellectual property, it can be their equipment, the modernization of their factories, but the very best managers that I've seen over the years think about their people, the number of engineers they have, the turnover they have, those types of metrics. It varies from business to business. In the financial services sector, people are fond of saying that all of your assets leave the building at the end of the day. And we want to encourage people to disclose how that human capital drives the value of their business. So why do I bring that up today? First, I think it's an important modernization. Second, I'm somewhat of I call myself a dime store economist. As I've traveled the world, both in private practice and now in this job, when I land in a city or a new country, I tend to look at what's going on. Indelible images in my mind include cranes in Istanbul in the early 2000s, watching a city grow from 10 million people to 25 million people in the space of 10 years, and what was driving the economy there. Well, I visited Dublin many times, and it takes me back to human capital. This is an economy that is clearly driven by the talent of the individuals who live here. Have an incredibly highly educated population. And to look at it the other way, there aren't a lot of other natural resources that Ireland and Dublin have. But you do have this incredible talent pool. And watching the development of Dublin and around Ireland over the years, it really has been, from my economics perspective, a study in how important human capital is. The companies that have international companies that have brought their businesses here can take them anywhere. And yes, there are tax advantages and there are other things, but they wouldn't locate in a place that they couldn't attract great human capital. So for that, I compliment you, and I want you to think about how best to disclose that with your, I would say, in your consultation with your EU colleagues around how companies should disclose their value to their investors. And with those introductory remarks, I'm going to let Commissioner Gallagher grill me. Thank you.
Let the games begin.